For if they had, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. Why did they kill Jesus? Because they didn't get it. They didn't see God's wisdom. They couldn't accept it. They weren't ready for it. Now he's going to quote from Isaiah 64:4. If you've ever noticed, Paul loves Isaiah. And Isaiah is one of the most quoted sections of the Old Testament in the New, along with Psalms. Off the top of my head, I'd say there are more New Testament references to the prophet Isaiah and Psalms than anywhere else in the Old Testament. However, it is written, what no eye has seen, and they left out the word things, would make it clear if it were provided. What things no eye has seen, what things no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love Him. That's from Isaiah. He says this is what the prophet meant. And what is he talking about? I'll tell you. The glory of the age to come. The eye has not seen it, ears not heard about it, no human mind has conceived it, but God has prepared it, the life of the age to come. These, verse 10 here, these are the things God has revealed to us by His Spirit. Otherwise we wouldn't know it. If the Spirit doesn't reveal it to you, you don't know. It's a spiritually discerned and spiritually understood the life of the age to come, of a crucified and raised Messiah, and of the life of an age to come is something that comes only from the Spirit's revelation to us. The gospel is really true wisdom when you understand it, the good news. But it's not recognized except by those whom the Spirit has given the time, the ability to recognize it. For, as it could be here, for the Spirit, okay, how does, this is the answer to his question of how, he says God has revealed to us by His Spirit. How does the Spirit reveal it to us? How? He's going to explain how. The Spirit searches all things, even the deep things of God. For who knows a person's thoughts except to their own spirit within them? Now he doesn't clarify there, pneuma, whether that's talking about the Holy Spirit or human spirit. I would say the context leans in the direction of the human spirit. For who knows a person's thoughts except their own pneuma, their own spirit within them? In the same way, no one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. Okay, what he's saying is, you don't even know your own thoughts except by the whatever it is within you that makes you think. That's how you know what you're thinking. I wish I knew what my dogs were thinking sometimes. I don't know what they're thinking. And I'm not even sure they know what they're thinking. I barely know what I'm thinking. But I do, I'm aware that I'm thinking. And you're aware you're thinking. And how are you aware of the thoughts you have? By the own spirit of intellect that you have within you, you know yourself. Well, he's saying basically, then how are we to know the things of God? Well, if we only know our own things by our own spirit, we can't know the things of God. They're not there. We've got to have something that knows the mind of God, the thoughts of God. And that must come into us. That's not of us, but it must come into us. And so he puts it in those terms. For who knows a person's thoughts except their own spirit? In the same way, no one knows the thoughts of God except the Spirit of God. What we have received is not the pneuma of the world. Now notice, there is a pneuma of the cosmos. That could be a good or bad thing. But that's not enough. What we've received is not the pneuma of the cosmos, but the Spirit who is from God. so that we may understand what God has freely given us. That's what grace is, a free gift, what God has freely given us. But we can't know that apart from the Spirit. The Holy Spirit reveals that to us. The Holy Spirit opens our minds. The Holy Spirit enables us to realize who God is and what God has done and what God is doing and what God is going to do. And apart from that, you don't know it. You just don't know it. I'm talking earlier about people like Stephen Hawking, where you could think of the most intelligent human beings who have ever lived who didn't know God. In all their intelligence, they never figured out God. In fact, they didn't believe in God. And he said, how could somebody so intelligent, who knows so much about the universe and how it works, not believe in God? And yet, some of us with lower IQs, let's just put it that way, yet we know God and we understand. How is that possible? By the Spirit. It's only possible by the Spirit.
But when you call those people deists who don't believe in God because they see a creation, why isn't God involved? Would that be maybe a reason why they don't believe in God?
Well, if you read A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, he will basically say there is no need for a creator in order to have a creation. And he'll quote the laws of quantum physics, which show that things just happen without cause. According to the laws of quantum physics, things just happen. And a universe began without any cause, without any creator. It just happened.
Is that possible?
And you'd say, well, what are the chances of that? You'd say, chances are big numbers. But you have to understand the philosophy of big numbers.
So there's no answer.
Let me see if I can tell this joke. This professor of quantum physics comes into this delicatessen where he likes to sit and eat. And he always saves a seat next to him. And he says, finally the guy behind the counter says, why do you always come in here and always save a seat next to you? And he says, well, one day a beautiful young lady will come in there, she will fall in love with me, and we'll get married and live happily ever after, so I'm saving the seat for her. And he says, well, why don't you just go out and meet some young ladies and see if you can find one somewhere and who will like you? And he goes, what are the chances of that? But if you see, that's kind of like the quantum physicist says, it just happened. Well, what about a creator? No. Can't accept that. Which is more likely?
Twisted.
Oh, it's not which is more likely. It's, there are philosophical problems with that way